What's up? Here we go, folks. Episode 19 of GBG. We're ready to bring it. You know, what can I say? Just a little recap from the past few days. For those of you who follow Twist, which I'm guessing is pretty much all of you, got back yesterday afternoon from Matt Benz's wedding, which is also why last week's Twist episode was just me and Mike, and next week's episode will also be just me and Mike because Mr. and Mrs. Benz are on their honeymoon. I would know because I had to pick them up at 4 in the freaking morning. Actually, it was 4:30. I had to wake up at 4, get them to the airport so they could be on their noon flight. Actually, I don't know what time their flight was. I just know that Matt likes to get there early. Anyway, I was happy to do it. I'm just giving him a hard time. Not that he'll watch this show anyway. I'm on episode 19, and I'd be surprised if Matt knows I have a show. But it is what it is. So that was fun. Let's jump right into it. Here we go. Sports talkers. So in this past week, we had two significant events in sports that happened outside of the world of football, which obviously I'll spend a majority of my time on. Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Open by shooting 6 under par for the 72 holes, a 4-day tournament. He was the only golfer to be under par for the entire tournament. To tell you how difficult the course was, the U.S. Open is traditionally the most difficult major in golf. Obviously, weather permitting. Sometimes the British Open in years past, if it's right on the lake, right on the ocean front, it could be windy, could be cold, but more often than not, they actually make the U.S. Open course just extremely difficult with greens that are difficult to read, greens that are extremely fast, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this U.S. Open was no different. No easiness for COVID. It is what it is. But Bryson DeChambeau, like I said, shot 6 under par. Good for him. I kind of like it. My dad and I spent a lot of time together this summer, and his favorite golfer is Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson won the PGA Championship, the FedEx Cup, and I've been following Bryson DeChambeau. I really like the way that he kind of reshaped his body and just put on a lot of mass in order to drive the ball, and he did so and has something to show for it. U.S. Open. So good for him. Then the NBA conference finals are underway. The Miami Heat is up 2-1 right now on the Boston Celtics, and the LA Lakers are up 2-0 off of a last-second three-pointer by Anthony Davis last night, which is unbelievable because they were only down by 1, but he still shot a three-pointer. It is what it is. That takes some stones, though. Once again, though, thanks for joining me, whether you're following me on Twist, Facebook page, on YouTube's Twist page, or on the RTF Sports Network live on Facebook, or the RTF Sports Network Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Central. Either way, thank you for joining me. Back to the fun. So, like I said, one thing I want to be clear on with the NBA is there's been a lot of gripe that, if LA wins this championship, will it be asterisk or will it be kind of flawed because they didn't have to face the Clippers or the Bucks? And here's my answer to that. I'm as big a Bucks fan as anyone, and not that I don't like LeBron, but it's Michael Jordan for me. But having said that, this is a championship unlike any other, and it's worth it just as much. Look, here's the thing. The Clippers had the same opportunity in the same conditions. The Bucks had the same opportunity in the same conditions. They didn't make it. For whatever reason, they are not playing in the conference championship, and the LA Lakers are. They're playing against the Denver Nuggets. And on the other side, Miami's playing Boston. One of those 4 teams will win the championship, and it shouldn't be asterisk. It shouldn't be seen as any less. It shouldn't really be seen as any different. All teams playing under the same conditions. At no point, and I can guarantee this, and I've never met, let's just use the Bucks as an example, or the Clippers. Their managers, their owners, their general managers, their coaches never sat down at the beginning of the year and said, these are the players that we're going to build around to have a championship in the 2019-2020 season. And then one person in the room said, geez, I think we have the best team possible. I just hope we don't have to deal with a global pandemic because we're not built for a global pandemic. No one's ever said that. Look, no one based their team thinking that this could possibly happen. Everyone was in the same conditions. Everyone dealt with the same adversity. If LA wins, if Denver wins, if the Celtics win, or if Miami wins, either way, they deserve it because everyone played on the same conditions. So get over it. Don't worry about it. Stop putting asterisks where they don't belong. So you're better than that. And I would like to congratulate the Atlanta Falcons for pulling off something I didn't think was possible. And that was me not having the opportunity to talk about the Vikings in the You're Better Than That segment of GBG. So in yesterday afternoon's game, the Dallas Cowboys were down by about 150 points. And they start coming back. They're clawing back. They get a touchdown. They're down by 2 points. And then with less than 2 minutes to go, they kick an onside kick. And I remember watching it because what happened was the kicker put the ball flat on the ground. No tee, no nothing. And I remember the announcer saying, wow, this is unique. You don't see this that often. The ball being placed directly on the ground. Well, what happens? The kicker squib kicks it really slow, and it's slowly pitter-pattering to the 10-yard mark. Now, Dallas knows that if they touch the ball before it reaches 10 yards, it's a dead ball. Atlanta gets the ball where it is. But for some ungodly reason, Atlanta sat at the 10-yard marker, 10 yards away from the ball, and waited for the ball to come to them. Well, what happens? Dallas runs down, hits all their front line guys, and leaves the ball open, and Dallas then jumps on it and gets the ball, then has a couple of plays, runs down, and kicks a field goal to win the game. This might be the dumbest move in the history of sports from a professional level. Now, here's the thing. Granted, I will acknowledge I am the son of a high school football coach. I grew up with football in my blood, in my background, since the day I was born. When I was 10, 11 years old, actually when I was like 8, 9 years old, 8, 9, 10 years old, I was the water boy for my dad's football team. Then when I was in that 6th, 7th, 8th grade area, I was the ball boy. So I was on the field all the time, on the sidelines. So every time there was a special teams play, a kickoff or a kick return, I remember the coaches saying, that's a live ball, barking it out. Here's the other thing I remember. When I was in high school, I remember my high school football coach, the special teams coach, saying, if there's an onside kick, if you don't think that you can grab it clean, hit it out of bounds. You don't have to recover it and hold possession of it. All you have to do is make sure the other team doesn't. And I was 14 years old. I made it to the high school level on a team where they don't cut people. I wasn't a professional. I mean, seriously, you are at the highest level. Do not blame the coaches for this. Do not blame the Atlanta Falcons coaches for this and say, well, they should have made it clear to their team. They did. I'm just going to say, at one point, they did. And at another point, if these guys had half a brain in their head, they would have known you can get the ball at any point. They just can't touch it. If you can't get it clean, hit it out of bounds. I mean, the ball was going so slow, a guy could have walked up next to it and batted it out of bounds. And then they would have gotten the ball at a dead ball right where that ball went out of bounds. The Atlanta Falcons would have. I don't know how you can be that brain dead. And don't say it's the coach's fault. You are a professional athlete. You are professional athletes. Look, I'm Green Bay Greg from Bloomington, Minnesota. You know what? If I don't understand every word of the Constitution, it's not meant for me to be able to interpret. I'm just a guy who is the professional level of Constitution interpreters, the Supreme Court justices. So who's held to a higher standard? They are. Their job in life is to be able to interpret the Constitution. Just like in football, you're the highest level. You are professionals. Your job is to know the rules. If you are on the front line of an onside kick, you damn well better know what can and can't be done every revolution that ball makes from the time it's sitting on the tee or the ground and goes off the kicker's foot to the time that it's recovered by hopefully your team. So don't blame the other team. Don't blame the coaches. Don't say you were caught off guard. You just were not thinking. It is what it is. Move on. Suck it up. Sorry, I had to go there. Usually that's a little heavy for me right off the bat. So moment of zen. The NFL, we're just completing week 2. Right now is the Las Vegas. Yeah, you heard me. Las Vegas Raiders playing the New Orleans Saints. Should be a good game. I'm doing this show right as the game's starting. I'll get over and watch it in a little bit. Anyway, it'll be fun. But the biggest story and my moment of zen is the injuries that took place. Just to name a few, Christian McCaffrey had a high ankle sprain, and he could be out 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I'm not just talking from a fantasy football perspective, but that is important because he is, fantasy football, leader. He's, if not the number 1 pick in most leagues, number 2 pick in most leagues. But here's the kicker. If it's not him as the number 1 pick, it could be this guy, Saquon Barkley, who tore his ACL yesterday. He's out for the entire year. Another guy that's, hot on the radar of fantasy football teams, Courtland Sutton, who also tore his ACL, out for the year. And then to wrap it off on the top 4 that I have on my top 4 when it comes to impact on a team, Raheem Mostert, who had a knee injury and sat out the rest of the game and could be out for a few weeks. Now, the thing with Raheem Mostert is he actually had a pretty productive day yesterday before he got hurt. Had a big 70-yard touchdown run. And from a team perspective, the San Francisco 49ers are pretty stacked at running back. So they might be in the best position to be able to recoup from this while he's out. Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, running backs for the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants, respectively, they're screwed. I mean, neither one of those teams were that good to begin with, but they're screwed. And, with Christian McCaffrey being out for several weeks, you never know if, it might be all the way until, week 3 and 4. And the thing is it's a high ankle sprain. So it's one of those injuries where you don't know if he's, fully back just because he's running on it for a few weeks. He's running, but, it's all going to depend on when he takes that first hit in a real live game. He could go out again and could be out for another 3 or 4 weeks. He could re-injure it. I think the best thing to do is, look, you're not going to the playoffs this year. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. I would keep him out on, you always have that 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks, whatever the doctor is saying. I would lean towards the higher amount of time out. You don't want this guy to be one of these guys that deals with a reoccurring injury for his entire career or throughout the rest of the season and then into next year. Sit him out for 6-7 weeks, whatever, is determined to be good amount of time, and then bring him back in a lesser role, because by that point you might be 2-5, 2-6. And there's really no reason to, add more miles to those legs. So I'd say play precautious. With Saquon Barkley, look, you have one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah, it sucks, but start looking at how Saquon Barkley with a healed ACL and, totally fine next year, hopefully, if he's got the comeback ability of Adrian Peterson, well, then maybe he'll be able to come back and be stronger than ever. But now start looking at how you're going to build that team around him. Who is going to be the guys that are going to help him out on the team, and Daniel Jones, the quarterback. Daniel Jones hasn't had an opportunity to play with Saquon Barkley all that much in the past 2 years. So you know what? Let's get Saquon healthy. Let's get some experience under Daniel Jones, and then let's find some guys to help them out if you're the New York Giants. Like I said, when it comes to Raheem Mostert, you got a lot of guys in that backfield. You should be all right. And let's be honest, right now it doesn't look, with the other injuries that San Francisco suffered, this might not be their year. I still think they may be a playoff team, depending on these injuries. Garoppolo also got hurt. Bosa got hurt. You deal with a lot of injuries. Sometimes it's just not your year. I'm not saying pack it in for the season. What I am saying is, this might not be your year, and you might not want to hurry guys back just for the sake of putting guys in the field, and you're afraid that your fantasy owners might be offended. You're about longevity and trying to be, as relevant as an NFL team for as long as possible, not just this year. So that's my 2 cents. When it comes to, injuries, it's unfortunate. I don't think this has anything to do with COVID. I also don't think it has anything to do with shoddy field turf in New York. I just think this is one of those freak things. Sometimes things happen. Maybe it is because they didn't have preseason games and these guys weren't in game shape. There wasn't enough sweat on those bones and those muscles. I don't know. What I do know is this type of thing happens every year. The only difference is it happened with premier fantasy players, and it happened all at the exact same time, the same Sunday. and the reason why it's growing so much attention. I mean, if you notice, I didn't say Bosa until I got 3 men deep on the San Francisco 49ers depth chart of injuries. No one's calling out the injuries of the defensive players or offensive line because they're not fantasy. And it is what it is. I'll just acknowledge that is the reason why I brought it up, because it is relevant to fantasy owners. So moving on to outside the arena. So here we are in week 2. And one thing that I noticed in week 2 of the NFL is all of the social awareness hubbub wasn't as prevalent in week 2 as it was in week 1. In week 1 on the Thursday night game, they made a big deal. They, being the TV networks, made a big deal about the way that the Houston Oilers, the Houston Texans, and the Kansas City Chiefs all acknowledged the 2 national anthems and how they locked arms in a moment of silence before the game. And then they called out all the other teams and what they decided to do in week 1. I'll be honest with you. I got home from Matt's wedding from Fargo. By the way, folks, Twist is really big in Fargo. Not that you didn't know that, but we're big in Fargo. Got home at about 11:30, so about a half hour before game time. And I noticed that they weren't showing any of that. They weren't showing what players were doing for the national anthem. They weren't showing both national anthems. Whatever type of moment of respect or whatever teams did, whether it was individually or as a team, it wasn't shown on TV. Now, what does that mean? Let's think about it. Does it mean that people don't care? Does it mean that NFL executives don't care? Does it mean that the TV networks don't care? I don't think that's the case at all. I honestly think that when people turn on their TV on Sundays, they want to watch football. Fair enough. You can't force someone to agree with your social issues. And if you do think that you can force someone to, good luck. But here's my ask. Mike's always said, Mike Reeves on Twist, and we were talking about Maya Moore and how she sat out close to 2 seasons in the WNBA for a cause that she believed in. Look it up, watch Twist if you want to know more about that story. Plug. My point is that she put her money where her mouth is. Now, NFL players, every team has off on Tuesdays, unless there's something freakish I don't know about. But usually what happens is teams will play on Sunday. They come in on Monday and watch some game film, maybe get some treatment if they got some aches and pains or injuries. And then Tuesday, they're off. Some players come in to look at film, but Tuesdays usually are the day that guys have to themselves. I understand COVID's going on. I understand all of that. But Tuesdays might be a day where you can stamp your name to whatever cause you want in your community. If you are, player XYZ in city ABC, you know what? Put something out there. Say, I'm going to be at, this community center. I'm going to be in, if the weather's nice, I'm going to be in this park. And I want to do is sit down with as many people as that want to show up. And I want to proclaim how I feel about whatever social issue it is. Because at that point, you then become what you say you want to be, which is you want to create your solution. It's not all about just being with a camera in front of you. Some of the best athletes did their own social causes and didn't call the cameras first. They just made right by their community. So if you want to do what's right, go to a children's hospital, go to a park and preach about how you feel about whether it's social injustices, racial inequality, gender inequality, whatever it is, whatever you feel passionate about, do something on your own time. Tell you what, I know it means a lot more when someone's not getting paid to do something. It means a lot more to the general public. So I got on that. So let's take a look here. We got a comment here. Look at this. Maddie Benz, hello from Hilton Head, South Carolina. We love GBG. I know what he means there. What he means is Hilton Head, South Carolina loves GBG. I did know that I was pretty big in the Southeast. Didn't know Hilton Head specifically, but thanks, Matt. I'm sure that you're passing out business cards, some GBG gear. I appreciate it. Enjoy your honeymoon, buddy. Love you. And I guess it takes Matt to get on a plane, go on a week-long vacation to actually watch my show. Either way, appreciate it. So having said that, when it comes to putting your money where your mouth is on your social awareness issues, sometimes the best thing to do isn't what is deemed, the common thing to do. take a knee, not go in the locker room, go in the locker room, hold a fist up, put a name on the back of your jersey. How about you just get out there and get to know your public? Let them know that you're not going to stand for the violence, the looting, the rioting. Let them know you're not going to stand for this, or you are going to stand for this, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. Get it out there and make your message known. Believe me, I strongly believe that if you do that, you're going to build more awareness than any knee ever could. Just my 2 cents, and I've already picked out your day for you. Tuesdays, you're off. Okay, my GBG challenge. Now, listen to this. Don't create a narrative to cater to your agenda. Do not create a narrative to cater to your agenda. Wow, GBG, that's a whole lot of fancy words. You know what that is? That's a fancy way of saying don't lie. Seems pretty simple, but we're in the political climate right now. We're a little over a month away from the election. And what people are doing, whether it's politicians or, whether it's at the national level or local level, they're creating an agenda to cater. They're creating a narrative to cater to their agenda. They want you to believe something, so they're going to create a story around it. Now, how is this the case? When COVID became such a huge issue late February into March, both sides of the political aisle were claiming that the other party didn't know how to handle it. Republicans were saying Democrats couldn't handle it. Democrats were saying Republicans weren't fit to handle it. Everyone was blaming Trump, or they were blaming Biden, or whatever the case is. Now that people are kind of getting exhausted and they're starting to realize, you know what? If I take my precautions like I'm supposed to, I'm still going to go out there and go out into society. I'm still going to go grocery shopping. I want to go to church. I want to go to a sporting event. I want to do this. I want to do that. So now who are they listening to? Now you have political parties that are saying, no, the other guy's not letting you do this. And the other guy's not wanting you to do this. Or this side isn't doing this. You know what? I'm going to say this until I am blue in the face. Read. Look stuff up. Neither political party is perfect. Neither political party is completely vindictive and evil. But what I am saying is, do not base your narrative on what Joe Biden says about Donald Trump or what Donald Trump says about Joe Biden. Look at their record. Then decide who you want. Decide what political party you support more and how you're going to go about supporting that person. Are you going to go out there and be a blowhard and just say, oh, I hate this guy, so I'm going to vote for this guy? Or are you going to learn about why you support someone? Just remember, hatred of one person does not equal support of another. I can hate someone all I want. It doesn't mean the guy they're running against is someone I really want to vote for. It is what it is. I would say read up on it and find out. Okay, I believe this stuff from this guy, this stuff from this guy. I'm going to base my vote on that, not how much I dislike someone. Are you going to go out? If you're a guy, you're going to go out with a girl just because you hate another girl even more? No, you're going to find the woman of your dreams. Date her. Go out with her, marry her, et cetera, et cetera. But you're not going to just date one person because you hate someone else even more. So learn about these candidates. Find what you want to like about it. Find what you agree with them on and go from there. But don't be the type of person that's just going to sit there and just bitch about one person. And don't be the person who's going to create a narrative to cater to your agenda. Don't make up stuff about Trump just because you want to like Biden. And don't make up stuff about Biden just because you want to like Trump. Just because you make something up doesn't mean it's real. It's called lying. It's pretty simple. I kind of teach my kids not to do it. They're 9 and 12. Hopefully grown-ass adults can know how to do it too. Thanks for joining me, folks. Till next week. Thursday night this week for Twist. Next week, Monday, as always, GBG out.